integral in making that happen. And because of that, I mean, as it shows here, efficiency, under efficiencies, that's example would be what we're doing in the town of Niles, where the town plows the west side of Niles, town roads and county roads, and then the county plows the east side, town and county roads, and working together on that is more efficient because we can't supply trucks to all over the county. We just don't have the facilities or the manpower to do that. That falls right into the reaction time. If it snows out and we're trying to deadhead from Auburn, say to Sempronius, it's going to be, an hour before we can get our trucks down there. So we're losing that hour of clean time on the roads that we get out of the towns. Level of service, same thing. The level of service is improved by these contracts. So we want to keep these things in play. And equitable for the taxpayers, we want to make sure that we're doing our best to save the taxpayers as much as we can. And through that, that's where this whole conversation started, was the T&M. The county feels is a better solution to that than the lump sum contracts that we currently have. So the towns currently plow 334.45 miles of county roads. The rates are variable between the towns of who gets paid what, depending on what was submitted back in the early 80s under their past time and material contracts. It's been a lump sum payment ever since they switched to this lump sum, and just percentages have been added onto it over the years. The differences between the towns in the snow belt versus those that aren't is currently in this current contract, there's one town that gets paid $6,100 and change, and then the lowest paid are $4,400. So there's some inequities there amongst who's getting paid what. Man, she's quick. So the current contract is basically, it's just a lump sum. The last couple of years, the contract was 4.5% over 3 years increases with no considerations to the salt, labor, equipment costs, fuel costs. If they're going up more than that 4.5%, the towns aren't exactly getting paid what they should be, nor does the county know what we're paying for under a lump sum contract. Fluctuating weather patterns. It doesn't snow as much as it did back in the 80s currently. We're in a kind of weather pattern where the winters have been a little bit shorter, but yet we're still paying out the same amount as a lump sum contract. And most of these issues will be addressed with a T&M contract. The time materials contract is still a base of a 2/3 payment, the same as what is in their lump sum contract. And then above and beyond that would be time and materials. And that means we're going to actually get what we pay for. If the town's out working, if one town works more than another town because they get wind, say, and they have to go out and run more, that town is going to get paid for doing that extra work versus a town that, say, the wind doesn't blow at all, for whatever reasons. And we can address the material costs, labor costs, and equipment costs with an operational plan that we'll get from the towns, and that will give us the cost of what they're using, their salt contract that they're using, so we can follow that. Sand and salt mix rates, labor costs. So we'll actually be paying the towns exactly what they're expending out for labor rather than just trying to guess at it. And equipment costs, fuel, repair costs, initial costs, and that's all based off equipment rental rates that the state puts out for us. And I have an example on here, a 10-wheeler plow with wing and sanders, $95.91 an hour. And that would be for just the equipment. And then we would add the labor cost to it. And that's all done through the attachment A that they're currently filling out now is a lump sum attachment A, which is the one on the left side of the screen. That's all hand filled out. Once we get to time and materials, the attachment A on the right, still the same format, but it's all electronic and it's all fillable and auto calculating as far as once we get their operational plans up and running, it'll auto calculate to come up with those numbers so we can see if they need an additional third in their third payment, what their payment would be. And that would be submitted on a monthly basis to the county for us to just go through and check. And this is just a mock-up of what it would look like, because we're not done with negotiations. I still have to meet with the towns again before this is all done, because we haven't come to a negotiation price on price per mile. They did kick me back a number, and I just threw in this is based off a hypothetical. If it was $5,500 a center line mile, that's what their 2/3 payment would look like. And some of the concerns that have been brought to me were that, they've already got their budget in place. The towns already have their budget in place for this whole season. And that includes the 2/3 payment that they would have expected to get out of a lump sum contract. And on the screen there, I'll show you that it does vary. Some towns will make some more additional money in their 2/3 payment. Some will lose a little bit. But we're trying to keep it as close, because we know that it's substantial for the budgets to be able to balance. And on the conclusion of it is, time and materials contract seems to be scaring people, but in reality, it's the best for the towns and the county as far as keeping it fair and equitable for all the taxpayers. We're getting what we paid for. And I feel that we'll get some increased efficiencies as well, because now if a town was hesitant to go out because they didn't want to expend a little extra money because the wind was blowing or whatnot, now they're going to want to, because they can get reimbursed for that extra, or push back an intersection with a payloader. That's all reimbursable. Everything they do is reimbursable under a T&M contract. And we're hoping if this all goes through and we can come to an agreement, we want to do another 3-year contract and have them executed the 1st of July. And we'll get operational plans in place from them September 1st. And we'll get their Excel spreadsheets back to them for the Schedule A's by October 1st. So we're all set for snow and ice. Of course, I left out that Schedule A, we've worked on it. It's all designed, ready to go. We actually give it out to the towns. When did we do that, Steve? Probably 3 months ago.
It was December.
So they could just kind of play with it and see how it all worked out for them and how it worked out. And I haven't gotten much feedback on that from any of the towns yet, as far as if they had trouble with it or not. But we've done the spreadsheets, they're all ready to go. We just need to get their input from the operational plans to go forward. Any questions?
I guess I just want to first say thank you for the presentation, and obviously you've done a lot of work on this. I know we've been talking about these state contracts for a long time. The time and materials makes sense to me. I think getting paid for what you actually spend, especially with materials costs all over the place, and probably increasing. So I just wanted to say thank you for putting it together, and look forward to, I assume we'll see a resolution at some point on this.
You mentioned that there had been initial negotiations with the towns with mixed reactions, some good, some, ready to go forward, some with hesitancy, and that you're scheduling other meetings. It's hard to tell the future, but what are you thinking about getting to, a final consensus?
I think it's gonna take some more time. We're gonna have a few more meetings over it, but I'm hoping we can come to a consensus, because like I said, this is important that we need to make this work for both parties, because the efficiencies, and the bottom line is we need safe roads to travel on, and the towns are integral to that.
Thank you.
Aileen?
Yeah, I guess that was my comment, was I know that we want to use time material. We want to have to use, I guess, precise measurement, but you can't measure what these folks know in the town. They know where the drips are. They know where the winds come from. They're on top of it. And we can't do it on our own. We need them to do it for us.
Absolutely. We have 508 miles, and we've no means to plow that efficiently.
Right.
It's just, can we do it? Yes, it could be done, but it can't be done efficiently in the way it should be.
Exactly. And
Without-
so I'd be interested to know how far along we are in the process and to try to reach them. Because I also am concerned about the inequities between what people are getting paid per mile.
Right, and that's one thing I think that we've agreed on. I could say that the towns would like to have across the board per lane mile even. they don't like the way it's set up, and I don't disagree with it because weather patterns have changed, you know. It's, you know, it's a snowfall. It's all based off snowfall and wind, you know, and we can't predict that. So that's why the T&M contract, in my opinion, is a good way to go, because if it shifts from north to south through the years, it's gonna, the money's gonna shift with it. People are gonna get paid what they deserve to get paid.
But, sorry,
That's all right, go ahead.
how do you plan to keep us informed? I don't know what your timeline is. But, you know,
I have to.
having next meeting
We haven't,
or-
you know, now that everything's opening back up, I think we're gonna be able to get to do some more meetings and let them up to speed, so.
I am interested because this is I know we
It's a
never
hot topic.
considered.
It's always a hot topic every time it comes up. I know that from sitting from the other side of it.
Right.
It's always been a hot topic, and that's why we started so early. Actually, Steve and I started talking in last fall, I think, with the group, so.
And I appreciate your presentation, the time gone into this. Also, the record keeping. You know, I get, I guess, the picture we want to have here, but we cannot measure, I guess, what these guys know, what men and women know about their own communities, like how the weather acts, you know,
Right.
in Genoa. I mean, only the people in Genoa know what's going on there, and they know, they can anticipate it, and they're on top of it. And I just want to make sure that we're being equitable.
I assure you, we know everything you know.
Yeah,
Uh,
said Brian, I mean, it's always a hot topic. I get it. The towns are worried about their budgets. It's our responsibility to worry about our budget. It's all the county taxpayer, no matter how you slice it up. So no one's ever gonna be 100% happy. So, I mean, you mentioned it, the past 3-4 years, there's a lot of, you know, small grocery stores, small, you know, like the medical center up my way and stuff that have gone away from the whole contract thing because they look at it, okay, you're charging me $100 to plow my little driveway. You've charged me $4,000 a year, but the past 3 years, you've only plowed it 30 times. I'm losing money. So the person plowing it is not technically losing money. They're still getting paid their $100 that they're charging. If that's what they're saying their cost is to charge that person's little parking lot, they're still getting paid what their cost is. They're just not getting the extra $1,000 that they've been used to getting the past 2-3 years. And if they're budgeting that in to their lifestyle, a little different than a town budgeting it into your budget, then, well, that's not really, you know, the way it should be. So I guess if you don't get all the towns on board, which you may not, where do we go there? Where do we end up there?
Well, then we have to look at manpower, equipment, and maybe possibly getting rid of our state roads to cover our county roads.
Just so everyone knows, Steve Fedrizzi's here and he's going to speak under in a few minutes on privilege of the floor. So he'll have he'll be able to tell everybody how the highway superintendent feels. Just so everybody knows that.
You know, and to Andy's point, really, this time materials contract doesn't have to go on forever, but we need to get some new data. We don't know what it costs the town to plow roads for us. That's a difficult number to put because there's not very many towns that currently track that to the precise enough to tell us that the county does with our software. I know that we can guesstimate what it costs by guessing what their pay scales are, but because the towns vary so differently in pay scales from one to the other, it's hard to say what the labor costs are. We can nail down fuel costs. We know what it costs to plow a mile of snow, equipment, you know, salt and fuel, but the labor is the big catcher in the whole scenario. So possibly after, you know, a 3-year contract, maybe we look at going back to a lump sum with adjusted rates for a short period of time. I don't think we need to do it for 30 years straight or 40 years, you know, because that's where we've lost the reality of it, because it's been since the early 80s that we've had a time materials contract, actual numbers to go by. That's where the rates were set.
Elaine?
This might show my ignorance, but we debated this a while ago. It was the materials that was the negotiation between the county and the state.
Yes.
Okay, so we had this whole kind of debate about how the
We're-
state would reimburse the county.
Correct, and this contract is almost a mirror image of what the state contract is for.
And that was initial recommendation from a gentleman that was filling in, who came, we also did
Lump sum.
lump sum,
Yep.
and we just went to time and material with the state contract like 5 years ago.
Yes, I'd say 4 years.
Okay, so
Yep.
I remember having these conversations, now I'm putting it into context.
So
Actually, that just answered my question. I wondered if the county was going to go time and materials with the state roads.
we have been,
Okay.
yes, correct.
That answered it. Thank you.
Anybody else for Brian?
Here, Chairman. Go ahead.
I was gonna ask that question. What are you getting paid from the state per mile?
Per mile, roughly about $4,000. So it depends on, it depends on the year, because we're getting paid time and materials. So whatever we log into with the system, is what we get paid. And once again, there's a base pay, a 2/3 base pay. And then what happens with the state contract is every 3 years, they look at what we were paid over our base pay, and then we adjust our base. So if we get paid consistently over the base, let's say 500,000 for a round number, and we start getting 600, 700,000, they're gonna look at it after 3 year and average it and give us 560 for a base rate. And that's the number we have to hit before we can get any additional funds.
Curious, I know that you were advocating for the towns to get paid more
Yes,
a little over a year and a half ago, and now I'm not sure where you're at.
3 years ago.
Okay.
And I'm still advocating for the towns to get paid more, because there's towns that are doing more than what they're getting paid for their base rates. Because these base rates were set so long ago that the weather patterns have changed and they're getting underpaid and some are getting overpaid. So this will level the playing field.
Okay, anybody else?
When is this supposed to take effect, or are we going to finish up this year's contract before?
Yeah. This is for the future contract coming. I knew that we were going to have this kind of debate about it, so we wanted to start early so we weren't caught with, at the end of the season without a contract.
Just so everybody knows, that's Charlie Ripley. He'll be hidden behind this. He used to be one of us. So. And Terry's back there too. Thanks. Anybody else for Brian? If not, thank you very much, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next presentation will be Eric Ridley. Is Eric here?
He's on virtually.
Okay, Eric's the supervisor for the town of True. Go ahead, Eric.
Hi, I just want to make sure everyone can hear me okay.
Yep.
All right, great. So as you all know, we've been dealing with a water issue in Troop. I had sent what you're looking at on the screen right now back in January 11th of 2022 this year. We've been dealing with the CCWSA on bringing clean and healthy water to a section of Centerport Road. They've been dealing with this issue since 2000, well, long before 2009, but there was an original report that was conducted in August of 2009 and presented in one way or another to the town, which had a competing water project at that time, and the project itself did not receive the due consideration that it probably deserved. So upon taking office, I was contacted by several people that live along that route who brought in samples of their water. And frankly, as some of you know that have either seen the samples or spoken to me at any length, it's pretty disgusting water that really should be rectified if possible. So we've again engaged with the CCWSA. The report has been completed. We've accepted seeker. And so I wanted to bring this in front of the legislature because, of course, there is, as everyone knows, the opportunity to assist in the funding of this project through ARPA funds. Now, water infrastructure is one of the dedicated allowable uses under ARPA that doesn't require any sort of massaging of the language or being creative in how a project is classified. So obviously this project would fit very well. And then, that combined with other possible funding sources could in fact, make this project a reality, because without that funding, I don't think that, just in talking to the residents that live along that route, that would be affordable to them. So with us here today are Janine Wilson from the CCWSA, and then Roger Sevilla, who is a resident on the water line, who's brought some samples to show the legislature. And so with that, Janine is going to kind of give you, if you haven't read the report, a brief overview of the project itself, and the scope of the project, because ideally the CCWSA would be the agency that would lead the project in terms of construction. There's a pretty significant savings there. And as you know, we've been working through funding sources and trying to figure out if we can also get public funding while also having the project not be competitively bid and not pay prevailing wage, which the CCWSA would be able to do, which would then make this project very affordable for the residents and would bring them clean water. So with that, I would like to hopefully have Janine discuss the project.
Yeah, hi everyone. Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hi. Janine Wilson, Director of Operations at the Cayuga County Water and Sewer Authority. I'd like to thank you all for listening to this this presentation and the request for help from the town of Troop for funding through the ARPA. But with what the Water and Sewer Authority may be able to do with its own construction services is to be able to hold the costs down a bit for this project. It's about 9,100 linear foot of water line. 8-inch water line would give them enough pressure for their needs. And Centerport Road, Sign Road, and Ryer Roads, portions of Sign Road and Ryer Road. With that, if we do our workforce, and I know this plan has been out to you all, the map plan and report, which we at this point funded this, and the environmental report, which is this what Eric had alluded to, the seeker, which is the state environmental review, which they just approved at their meeting last week. At this point, we would then go for an application from the town for funding, and it would be reviewed, and then a package of grants and low interest loans would be offered for this project. That being said, we're not sure what that package would be at this point. We have just gotten to the point where the application should have enough information with the reports that we've put together to get to those funding agencies. We have asked for special dispensation to be able to do this through the Water and Sewer Authority. And hopefully we can work together and get this done for these people. There's about 35 properties in that area. And at one point when the reports are finished and we get the funding in place, it would go to a vote to the residents in that area. If and when this project is completed, the Water and Sewer Authority would be the ones doing the operation and maintenance and billing for that service area. And I don't know if anyone has any questions for me. I think Roger is there.
Where's the water supplied from, Janine?
It's the city of Auburn, and we purchase it at Route 38. And we have a section of about 1,000 feet that goes to Peachtree Road. It would actually connect at the corner of Peachtree and Centerport Road in the town of Troop. So it would be part of our service area, originating from part of our service area.
Is there, I guess my point is, I mean, is it a continuous, is there people before it and people after it who aren't having an issue?
Well, we have water to that point. We have looked at several areas beyond the points that we've outlined in the district. And that is a very rural area, which of course then increased the cost. In the future, there may be a time when there would be more people that would want water in that area, and then it could be extended. And we would leave that project, we would end it in a way that could be extended in the future.
Go ahead, Chris.
Janine, did I understand you correctly? And you said that the potential residents of this future water district have not voted on this yet? That if you could just elaborate on that for me.
Right. It's not ready to go to vote yet. The application needs to be done for the funding. And then when all of that information is there, then the people would vote on it at a district formation. It has not been formed as a district because we haven't gotten all of the information at this point. They definitely would want to see, to know how much it would cost before you voted on it. And that's the way it's normally done. We've got our estimations in the map plan and report, but that was as of December of 21.
Yes, Heidi.
Janine, what is the application date for this funding that you are referring to?
There's several different applications that could go out to funding agency. The USDA right now, they're accepting applications. So it's a good time to move forward. And once we do that and start these applications, there are several other funding agencies too. But that's the one that would allow us to be able to do the construction. Most of the other funding agencies would not.
And are you actively then working on that application?
The town would have to apply, and we have gathered some information for them to do so. So that should be in the works soon, but that is definitely something that the town will be working on. And Eric, you can speak up anytime.
Yeah, so sorry, Janine. We've had several conversations with CCWSA and Mark Colopy, who is their funding person, and possibly engaging his services. And then speaking with the engineering team, if you move to page 24 of the report that basically gives the cost breakdown, the report contemplates a 40% grant. And the information that I've received from the engineer in terms of what they've been seeing in multiple projects, and they're the ones that were talking about the special dispensation that was triggered by Wayne County being able to do a similar project. The issue here that we're facing is that they say it's unlikely that it's going to be a 40% grant. They are targeting a 25% or 30%, but they said that 40% is aggressive simply because in the age of ARPA, public monies are clearly being doled out from other political subdivisions. So they're asking the same questions that you guys are, and rightfully so. The other issue that we're running into is that things are getting more expensive, which is why this is time is of the essence here. So as costs go up and that escalation takes hold, the ARPA money has to be, of course, committed by 12 of 2024 and then, spent by 26. This is a shovel ready project. The engineering's been done. We're ready to go. All we need is a funding package that we can present to answer Mr. Petrus's question. We wouldn't put this in front of the voters until we have a solid idea of what we're going to get. So as I've said to all of you in the emails, that the town is not coming to you to ask for something that we would not dedicate funds ourselves to. So we are more than willing to, I am more than willing to bring before my board 50% allocation of our ARPA funds, which represents just shy of $100,000. So, and just in case anyone hadn't caught this in the email, the reason for the $400,000 ask is because it represents plus or minus 3% of the total ARPA award to Cayuga County, and Troop's population is just over 3% of the county. So that was the reason for that ask, understanding that we would be kicking in additional funding, and then also hopefully, as Janine pointed out, the only way we would be able to have the CCWSA do the work is if we go with the USDA funding. So the delta in the cost within the report, as you can see from page 24, the CCWSA construction cost would be just over $1 million at 1.038 million. The 40% grant applied to the $1.5 million estimate, if this were publicly bid and paid at prevailing wage, is $900,000. So there's not a huge delta there. It helps us in the long run by having the CCWSA do it, since they're going to be the ones doing O&M anyway. The other goal is, not only does this benefit the residents, but it also benefits the county. We've discussed how can we best expand the scale and scope of the services provided by CCWSA and allow them to be more resilient for the future. So we've got 2 water districts right now that we operate. And if we can find efficiencies by having the CCWSA do O&M for all 3, that's a material benefit to them and their agency. So we've had long discussions about that as well, and what benefits that can have for the town. Roger is there, and he's got, I believe, some samples of the raw water that's pulled from their wells. So as far as I understand it, they sit in a vein of some ferrous material, and the water that comes out into their homes is, I could only describe it as just a little lighter than mahogany. So it really is a terrible situation that they're in, that impacts their health and safety and also their quality of life, because they are required to either treat their water in very expensive ways at a rate that is more often than is typical when you just have a water softener in your home. And that costs a great deal of money. And Roger had shared with me a water test that was both raw and after treatment. And neither set of those numbers were very good. When you talk about total dissolved solids approaching 1,000, that's where health agencies tend to balk at the safety of your water, and that's after treatment. But the hardness and the iron that is there, that's supposed to be 0.1 or less, is, I believe it's like, what, Roger, 4 or yeah. So it's not palatable either way. And what Roger's holding right now is the raw water in a filter that comes out of one of the softeners, I believe, along that line. We have one resident in town. Her name is Alice Abadi, and she wouldn't mind me sharing this with you. She had said to me very early on that she's, I believe she's in her 70s, and she said the one thing that she wants more than anything before she dies is to get water on Center Court Road. Like, that was the one thing. And so it's very important for us to either, well, the good thing about this too is we put this for a vote, we get a funding package put together, and if the voters then vote it down based on the numbers that they see and whether or not they can afford it, because that is what it's going to come down to, then the county gets their money back. If the vote fails, then that's the end of it, and that money can be allocated elsewhere. But we're really hoping to put our best foot forward and really give an honest to goodness effort to make this thing happen, both for our residents and then also, again, so that the county can expand their footprint and really work towards that master plan that's been in development for quite some time.
All right, thanks, Eric. We got to move along. Mark's got a question.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Ridley, my first question is, did the town of Troop receive any ARPA funding for the town of Troop? And if so, is that money, if you did get that ARPA grant or funding, is that going toward this project also?
Yes, as I stated earlier in the discussion, and then also in the emails back and forth with the legislature, we've received just under 200,000 in ARPA money, and I would put before my board, we would commit 50% of that ARPA funding to this project.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Yeah, Jim.
So this is legislator Jim Basile, District 1. So you said there was 25 residents that would be served. It's a $400,000 ask. Your population, based that off at 3%, but you're going to take $400,000 and divide it by 25 residents, or $16,000 each. That am I hearing that correctly? And you're asking for the county to support that?
I am. Yes, I don't know as though I look at it as a public health matter rather than dollars and cents, right? And it's not often that you get a second bite at the apple. Again, this project was needed back in 2009. And again, I think anyone around then would tell you that it didn't get the attention that it deserved. So as we're dealing with this really difficult project that normally wouldn't be able to be funded, I think it was Mr. Peacher in a meeting recently that said the ask was out there for a $4 million funding for IT for the county. And Mr. Peacher had said that it should go to projects that have long lasting impacts on the people in the community, right? So I can't think of a better project than the health and safety of the people who live in a place where a lot of us wouldn't bathe our kids in the water that comes out of the tap, right? So yes, that is the ask, and that is the only funding methodology that we used because it's hard to put a number on it. But again, we would be then willing to put 50% of ours for these 25 residents, and it's 35 as Mr. Lynch pointed out. And then when you add the population growth, and then you also add again the expansion of the scope and scale of the CCWSA, it's more of a benefit than to break it down by person. I think there are ancillary benefits across the board.
All right. Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Janine.
Thank you.
Jim, one more question?
So just understanding, so that the original funding went back to 2009. So it's been 9 years. I feel your pain because we deal with some of this up in our district, trying to expand water districts. I guess I'm going to ask the chair if this legislative body is going to consider providing funding to each of the communities based on their population percentage out of the ARPA funding for projects that they may have. Some of them may be public health problems. We have water issues up in our area. We're trying to deal with protecting an aquifer. I'd like to just put that out there as we consider this. Are we going to consider funding for each of the communities, a way to give back? Or are we going to concentrate on county projects specifically? That's just a statement. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Janine.
Your presentation.
And as Jim said, everybody's working on the ARPA funds right now. Nothing has certainly been settled yet. So I know both caucuses are working on it. We will have a meeting probably the middle of March to discuss it further, but good question, Jim. And that's one of the opposable opinions of several. So we'll talk about that. All right, privilege of the floor. Steve is the president of the Highway Superintendents Association. Steve, go ahead.
Thank you. First thing is if I could get Amanda the handout, I can do it. I have a book that the highway superintendents put together every year. And it has all the legislators' names in there. There's a lot of new legislators' names in each one legislator. If you could fill out the district that you're in and that, so we can get you in the book. I usually wait for the Board of Elections, but they're a little behind. And we want to get ours to the printer. First thing is, I want to thank everybody for allowing me to speak tonight. I didn't realize I was going to have a lot of support. There's over half the highway superintendents here that they have some interest in this contract. Some of the questions that were brought up to me to ask tonight are, how do we track our time? A lot of us towns go from a town road to a county road back to a town road. Sometimes we don't need to plow town roads or county roads depending on the wind. So question is, we have a lot of help out there that that they're concentrating on doing the best job they can plowing roads. And now to come back and have them start filling out paperwork to say, we were on this road for 27 minutes, we used 1,500 pounds of salt. There's no real way of tracking it. The other thing is, all the superintendents are salaried, and we have plow routes that we do just as much, or we're out there at night or weekends and that. How do we track our time? We're not hourly. So to put that into perspective, it's gonna be hard to track our time along with getting our guys to fill out the paperwork. They fill it out at the end of each day, like Ryan said earlier. We have what they call an attachment A that we turn into the county at the end of the year. That shows how many hours roughly, we don't pinpoint it to the minute, and how many tons of salt, sand mixture that we use. The other question that was brought up, and this was brought up by a lot of the supervisors that I had called and talked to me, is how do we set our budget? We know now, right now, what we're gonna get paid each year by the county. Whether some are making more than others, you know, it's hearsay, but legislators, I guess our question to you is, how are you gonna set your budget? If we're doing the time and material, we're gonna go off a base that Brian showed you. Well, what happens if we have a really bad winter and we get you folks get an extra bill for an extra 500,000? Where's that money coming from? Right now, you folks know what you're paying us. If we go to the time and material, we're not gonna know, you're not gonna know next year what to budget for us. The one thing that was brought up that has been told of us, if we don't go to the time and material, the county's gonna take the roads back over. We don't wanna see that because we take more pride. I don't wanna say we take more pride. Each town has pride in their town. They want their roads to be safe to the best of their ability. If you take over 337 miles of roads, how are you gonna do it? Well, I figured it out. It's gonna be 15.3 new trucks you legislators need to buy at 200,000 apiece. So not just the equipment, people. Where are you gonna find the people? Each one of us towns are losing people like crazy. And I know the county's lost people. We can't find CDL drivers out there today. And the way they made the mandates, it's even harder. So the price of labor is gonna go up. The contract rate that the state is going with the county right now, and I'm not trying to throw the state or you folks under the bus, it's 2017 state rates. Okay, that's at $95 isn't a current price of what a truck costs to run today, a wing person or a wing or any of that. So those are some of the things we got to look at. So the big question is to the legislators, we have a really good working relationship right now with the county, and we don't want to ruin it. There's quite a few highway superintendents came tonight to back me. I didn't realize they were gonna. But the question is, we don't want to do any more paperwork than we absolutely have to. We don't want the county folks to have to do any more paperwork than they absolutely have to. And the last thing that I got is, who's going to take more pride in their own town than the drivers and the highway superintendents in their town? We're doing the best we can to the best of our ability and to keep the residents of Cayuga County safe. And I think if you go to each town and ask them, I don't think anybody has a problem with what we're doing right now. In that handout that I gave you, you can see this year what the county, this sheet I sent around, it breaks it down. Every one of the highway superintendents told me what they plow and what they get paid per mile. So the figures that I have, and these are from the superintendents, 337 miles is what we plow right now, county roads. Last year, you folks paid us $1,727,489. That figures out to $5,120 a mile, 25 bucks a mile. Last year, this is this year's rates. This is what you folks are paying us this year. Last year, the county plowed 86 miles of road at $657,067. That figures out to $7,640. So we're not looking to charge you folks a lot more money. We're not looking to give up the county roads, but we're not looking to do a lot more paperwork. And with that, all I have to say, in that green book that's going around, if you look in the in the front of it, the mission statement of the county highway superintendents is, may our combined efforts contribute to a stronger association, and by working together, may we better serve the public with better and safer highways. That's what we're here for. Thank you.
Steve, I got a couple of questions. How long is the contract? Is it a 1-year contract or
The
multi?
last year we did a 3-year.
Is that kind of normal? Is it?
3 to 5 years is what most counties do. I'm on the New York State Association of Highway Superintendents. I go all over the state. And there's 18 of us on the committee, and not one of them on that committee does the time and material. The county did it back in the 80s, and my vice president of our association was the highway superintendent when they were doing the time and material. The county went away from it because a few towns were doctoring their paperwork. Not saying that, I hope it doesn't ever happen if that's what goes on, but they went away from it because some towns were making $7,000 over 20 years ago. So that's why they went to a flat rate of, this is what you're getting paid.
I got another question. When does the year start? When do you have to have these contracts signed?
June.
Every June?
The end of June is when we do the contracts.
Now, does this include mowing too, or just plowing?
Just plowing.
Questions for Steve?
Thank you.
Anybody? Thanks, Steve. Okay, motion minutes to approve, January 25th, 2020.
Second, Basile.
Any discussion? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Passed. Appointments and reappointments. Do you want each one read, or somebody want to just make a motion?
Mind pulling out the Kapusa appointments,
Which one? I'm sorry.
the Kapusa appointment, separating them.
All of them?
Oh, just Caboose, she wants separate.
No, that's what I meant. All the Compusta ones. All right. What about everybody else? Anybody else? Okay, you want to approve all except the Capusta?
And I just want to make a comment.
Sure, go ahead.
I am looking forward to hopefully seeing some results from Kapusa. I'm hoping that, after some time, Jay's heading that group, and after some time, perhaps you can come back with an update. Really, we're very lucky to have Kapusa in our community. We just haven't seen results, anything much from Kapusa in decades. So I'm, certainly before we fund Kapusa at any further rate, I would like to be updated and what exactly they've been up to. And I hope that they can come to some good quality, productive conclusions.
I think so, some challenges before us. I'm be happy to come back and give a report once we get our feet underneath us and move forward. I'd be happy to do that.
Eileen and I met with a few people probably a month ago about this, and nothing's been done in several years from what I understand. I talked to Bob at length about it. I think Bob's very enthused to be on this and to be the chair. And he's promised me that these people will work together and get something done. Welcome me back, Bob. Anything else? Anybody want anything else taken out of? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
if I'm correct, we still need to move Capusa. I'll move that
Well, is that what you wanted to say more about it?
she just wanted separated, is that?
Yeah. All right.
So I move that.
Second?
I'll second it, Mark.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, communications and announcements, none. CCC report, I think Dr. Durant is not available.
But he did send his report.
So there's a report in your package,
In our emails.
in your emails? Okay. Any questions on the doctor's report? Thank you all for coming, and everybody that's leaving. Thank you very much.
Share your name.
Thanks. See you later. Okay. Committee reports and individual legislators reports. Anybody have anything? Hearing none? All right, chairman's report. It's gonna be short because we've had a couple of presentations that lasted a while. I think everybody, certainly the legislators know this, but for the audience, we've been working on ARPA funds since the day, I think, January 1st. We had a meeting today in our caucus, and I know we talked to Heidi. So both caucuses are trying to come up with the top 5. We're going to meet, the date is going to be changed. I think it's March 17th. And hopefully by then, both caucuses can come up with their main top 5, so we can eliminate some and then pass some. But it's a tough project because every department head, I think, wanted something, some more than others. And it's just impossible to make everybody satisfied. But I am very convinced that this group will do the best we can and do what's great for this county and certainly the departments. Any comments on ARPA, because it's taken a lot of time? Tricia?
To Jim's point, there are these bigger questions that we haven't had a conversation about yet. Are we going to open this process up to the towns and villages? Are we using a distribution formula based on population? I hope not. Are we opening it up to the nonprofit community? And I do hope that we have those conversations sooner than later, because we are spending money, and those are important projects that if we have opportunity to consider them earlier in the process and weigh those needs against the county department needs as well, that would be ideal.
I think it's a great point. I mean, again, that's going to be up to each caucus to talk about that. We haven't got that far yet. I don't know if your caucus has, but we have the leadership meeting that we'll be having in a couple of weeks. Hopefully the 5 of us can talk about it there. But it's a good idea. I mean, a lot of people have mentioned opening it up. But there again, where do we stop? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
There's only a certain amount of $1 million available. Elaine?
As I was thinking about this, and we're going to be talking about it, there is, if we were to approach this and look at that book only, those clearly were department head requests. There may be priorities that people on this legislature want to dedicate some funds to, and those I think would be open to be put on a priority list as well.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, there's a finite dollar amount in the flexible category. There's a dollar amount in the categories that we need. I mean, we could look at it. I think we do need to look at it globally. What is it that we would support from the flexible funds? What is it we could support from where we're mandated to pick a category from? And there's just under 4 million in that amount. And then there may be things that we put on the priority list that are not department head lists, but actual things that county legislature wants to get consideration for. So
No, that's a great point. I think when I sent out the first email, maybe a month ago, we went to buy the department heads and what their wishes were. And I think I'm quite sure I put in that if any legislator has any wishes from yourselves, your constituents, please email it to Max and we can put it on that, that list. I did. I suggested maybe a certain amount to each, township, village, whatever it may be. So that was kind of my take, but we're open to everybody's comment and certainly feel free. Max will be back Thursday. Feel free to email him. We can put it on his package. And the next time he hands it out, everybody will be on there.
So the March 3rd meeting's still there for the sheriff's report.
It's gotta be,
but this March 17th is the new date for coming together as a group and looking at priorities for ARPA. Is that what you're saying?
Yep. I'm going to try to make it easier for everybody. I'm going to talk to the sheriff and talk to Amanda and make sure that the 3rd has not gone out to the public yet. So if it hasn't, we can do both of those meetings on the 17th. Brian's the legislative meeting that's mandated for Brian and the ARPA talk. So hopefully we can do it both at once, so everybody doesn't have to come in on a separate day.
It has been advertised, but
It has. Can we change it?
Change it, yeah.
Okay. Yes.
If we do change it, is there an opportunity to inform the public that the sheriff's presentation is for the public?
Mhm.
And then we end the live stream and have our. And,
I know what you're saying, but
private, yeah.
I don't think it can be. I asked the county attorney, Chris, that has to be open, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would like it that way so we could get into a bigger discussion but it's not a possibility.
And March 17th is Ways and Means.
Right.
So.
We were
we're gonna
talking
do it all
about
in.
having it before Ways and Means. If everybody is all right with that, if everybody's coming in anyhow.
Okay.
Now, Sheriff, is that all right with you?
For me.
All right, that's what we'll try to do then. We'll check, yeah, then.
March 17th is gonna be a full ledge.
No.
Please.
Yeah,
Leave me.
Well, I understand that, but
it has to be a full ledge. Brian's, the legislative package for Brian is mandated by the full ledge.
yeah,
You have to meet as a full ledge.
okay.
So no matter what day we do it, it has to be all of us.
So as St. Patrick's Day, we'll have plenty of good crack going down here.
Does everybody understand that? And
So we're not doing anything on the third.
the third will be canceled, Brian, yeah. And we're gonna try to, we will do it on the 17th unless somebody's got a better idea. I think we gotta do it. We gotta do Brian's. And we gotta do the ARPA. So we gotta start somewhere. Okay, everybody? Thank you.
We all wear green.
Yes, absolutely. You better. All right, just to continue mine, the county office building, everybody knows that this project has been kicked down the road now, literally for 16 years. I know that for a fact because I was here when they talking about it, 2010. So we met with the vendors, I think maybe a couple of weeks ago. And at least they're starting, the contract signed. They're working on it now as we speak. I know they've been around a lot of the departments. So hopefully they will let us know when it's done. And hopefully it'll be sooner rather than later. They can come back and certainly we will let the legislature know what they found out. And then we can start talking about this as a whole full legislature. Okay, any questions on that? Type of government. I know Chris has been working on that in redistricting. And there's a committee and the Democrats have
Christine Calarco.
Christine, yeah, Christine and Chris are hopefully working on it together and bring it to the legislature sometime when you're ready, right?
The districting?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we'll bring it.
You just can't wait, can you?
I thought we were getting bulletproof vests prior from the sheriff's department. Just waiting on those, Mr. Chair, and we'll be ready to go.
No matter what we do, we're not gonna make it. I found that out easy. Okay, resolutions. Hans, Ways and Means.
Okay, we have 4 resolutions. I'd like to bundle the first 3. They've been through committee and approved.
Okay,
Mark?
second,
Nightingale.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you, Hans. Health and Human Services, Elaine.
WM4,
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
adjusting the salary of deputy human resource administrator. It's been discussed in committee. Any questions? Otherwise,
Motion,
I'll move it.
second, second.
Nightingale, second.
Any discussion on that one? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Hans. Elaine?
Yep, Health and Human Services had 16 resolutions this month. They were moved through the Health and Human Services Committee. They were supported at Ways and Means. We recommend them group together, HH1 through HH16.
Okay, Andy moved it second.
Nightingale.
Any discussion on any of those? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Elaine? Government ops, Chris?
Thanks. There was nothing in there, Elaine, right? Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Government Operations has 2 resolutions. I will offer both GO2 and GO3 as a bundle.
Okay.
Been through both committees and I ask for their support at this time.
Motion? Second. Who seconded it? I mean, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Passed. Okay, what about GO3? Did you?
GO1.
Or GO1, excuse me.
That's.
Yeah.
That's like.
That was defeated, or that was,
That did.
yep, all right. Eileen, I'm sorry, planning.
Planning was 5 resolutions that were passed at committee. I'd like to offer them as a bundle.
I'll move those.
Second?
Second. Seal.
Yeah. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Eileen. Andy, Public Works.
Public Works had 12, PW2 was pulled, so I'd like to bundle 1 and then 3 through 12 unless anybody wants. one separate.
Also move.
Second, Basile.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, anybody else for the public hearing? Any virtual people? If not, I'm closing the public hearing at 7:05. Okay, thanks. Okay, Mark, judicial and public safety.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. JPS has 7 resolutions. I would like to offer JP 1 through JP 6 as a bundle. They have passed through both committees.
Move it, Dennison.
Second.
Yeah,
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I have to abstain on that.
Sorry. Oh,
No, it's 6, I think, isn't it?
Yeah,
6.
Or 7, sorry, 7.
No,
I do believe it's 7.
6.
You're abstaining from.
JP 6.
abstain. Hey, Chris did too.
Okay, so, yeah. Mr. Chairman, let the record reflect,
Right.
I abstained from JP 6. I thought it was JP 7.
Sorry. Okay, did all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. JP 7.
JP 7 was approved at Ways and Means and will need a 2/3 vote to approve.
Move it.
Did you want a roll call on that? You said something earlier.
Second, Petrus.
Discussion.
Second, any discussion? And I need a roll call vote on that, please.
Just give me 1 second. This is 2/3 vote.
Yes.
All right, Jim Basile,
Yes.
Andy Dennison,
Yes.
Lydia Patty Ruffini,
yes.
Chris Petrus,
Yes.
Aileen McNabb Coleman,
Yes.
Robert Shea,
Yes.
Hans Petcher,
Yes.
Mark Strong,
Yes.
Heidi Nightingale,
Yes.
Elaine Daly,
Yes.
Trisha Kerr,
Yes.
Christina Clarko is excused, Michael Didio,
Yes.
Brian Muldrow,
Yes.
David Gould.
Yes.
I passed.
Thank you. Also, Mr. Chairman, I have Ledge 1 in my committee. Ledge 1 is urging the state of New York to amend criminal justice reforms. It was passed through both committees. I need a motion to approve.
Move it.
Second.
I also will, any discussion? I will also need a roll call vote on this also, please.
Mark, if I could
Oop.
just, I just.
I didn't see, I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem. I just wanted to thank you for bringing this forward. This is an important issue for the state and for local government as well. And glad there's a call for financing for some of this stuff. And I just wanted to say thank you for that.
Anyone else for Ms. Nightingale?
I also want to say that it's an excellent resolution from my point of view in terms of bail reform. I found that bail reform was something that was very downstate oriented and did not represent upstate law enforcement issues. And I thought it was well written in terms of giving judges more discretion. Also giving discovery time, a more reasonable time. You know, because you're looking at an unfunded mandate. Just well done. Glad you brought it up, Cayuga County.
Thank you, Ms. Nightingale. Any other?
I got, just for point of order, don't get mad at me.
Okay.
Because we went through this at Ways. We're kind of having some, in my opinion, illegal votes here.
It has to come from.
You're running the meeting.
Right.
Not him. We did this at Wait, and don't get mad at me. I'm just making a point. We did this.
Objection, I'd like to strike illegal from the
We
record.
did this at Ways too, with the committee chairs started asking for votes and stuff. And I was like, what are we doing? It's
up
his meeting at Ways. It's your meeting here. It's your meeting at JP. It's my meeting at Public Works.
This is a.
Okay, I'll strike the word illegal, but we.
Thank you.
It weighs too, so we gotta kind of, let's get that over with in February, so we don't have that problem
Right.
Absolutely right.
from this point forward, that's all.
Okay.
So I'm just making a point that.
Agreed. I was asked to bring it.
But if you have.
Hey, everybody, let's have a roll call vote on that one.
Tim Basile,
Yes.
Andy Dennison,
Yes.
Lydia Patty Ruffini,
Yes.
Christopher Petras.
Yes.
Aileen McNabb Coleman. Yes. Robert Shea,
Yes.
Hans Petcher,
Yes.
Mark Strong,
Yes.
Heidi Nightingale,
Yes.
Elaine Daly,
Yes.
Trisha Kerr,
Yes.
Christina Clarko is excused, Michael Didio,
Yes.
Brian Muldrow,
Yes.
David Gold,
Yes.
passed.
Might be the only thing we agree on.
We're rocking it, man. I love you guys.
There is a ledge too. Everybody should have had one on your desk. It was actually GO1 that has been changed, modified by the county attorney. Let me read it. Establish and fund a capital H account to support a multi-phase, multi-year digital project called DREAMS, Digital Records Electronic Access Management System, and authorize the chair to enter into agreement with ICC CDS. Okay, motion.
Move it.
Second,
Nightingale.
all in favor? Any discussion? Hans?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to amend the resolution
Okay,
by on the second page in the resolves, changing numbers from 2,000 from
2 million.
2 million from the county's unappropriate fund balance to 1 million, and the ARPA funds from 1,900, as it says, to 2 million.
3 million.
3 million, excuse me.
Okay, motion.
I'll move it.
Second,
I'll second it. Mark.
discussion on that. No discussion, everybody okay with it?
Mr. Petcher, your amendment, would you include the budget on the back?
Yes, yes. Numbers on the back be adjusted accordingly.
I have a question, Hans. You're just adding additional ARPA, $1 million from ARPA and reducing it from fund balance.
Yes.
And I think, there is flexibility over the course of this 5-year program, so that if things change and we need to do something different, we certainly could. So, yeah, okay.
Okay, motion on the amendment.
Move it.
We have the motion in the second. We need to vote on the amendment.
All in favor for the amendment?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
I'm opposed.
I'm sorry.
So
Trish?
Kerr and Patty Ruffini.
Okay. Okay, now motion on the amended resolution. Second, Andy's made the motion, Aileen second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Lydia opposed.
I'm also opposed.
Any interest? Yeah,
Noted, thank you.
okay. Okay, any other business? Andy?
I just want to ask Mr. Stoper a quick question.
Sure.
Because there was a few things that Mr. Patrizzi said that, I don't know, seemed wonky for me, so can you clarify?
Which part?
Well, a lot of it.
He's right in some aspects. We did take in close to 700,000 last year from the state contract. But this year, we're gonna be lucky to hit our minimum of 400,000. As far as paperwork, this is less paperwork than more paperwork. It's all electronic. To answer the question about the, if I plow this town road versus that county road and that stuff, it's all put into the operational plan. How many miles of county road is on the particular route that they give us? They have to give us their route every year, drivers and all that stuff. So we can do a proportional rate, the same as we do with the state contract that we're in with the state. We plow on the Venice barn, all of our routes have state roads and county roads. So what we do is what they call proportional rate. If 75% of it's state roads, that one gets billed out at 75%. If it's 25%, it gets billed out at 25%.
And isn't the electronic seems a lot simpler.
That's some valid points as far as if he's having his guys, or if I shouldn't say Steve, because it could be a different town that's doing it. If they're using their manpower to track their time, then it is gonna be a little more work for the highway superintendent, because he's gonna have to, get into the Excel spreadsheet and put in his day, every day, what his guys did. So there is a little bit more on this, on the highway superintendent. As far as tracking the highway superintendent's salary, it would be salary is a salary. It's based off in 2,080 hours a year, and that's what the rate would be. I'm trying to remember everything he said.
How do you think about how do you budget it, that they're gonna get paid like a terrible winter?
So how I would
Yeah.
budget it is, okay. Currently, we're paying out 1.73 million. So if we go to this time and material contract, I can see probably a $300,000 to $400,000 year savings to the county. Because we're overpaying. Some of the larger towns are getting overpaid that much. So that I would suggest that we establish a reserve account. We'll continue budgeting the same as we're currently budgeting, and then take the excess and put it in the reserve account. So on a year where, hey, we get a 1980 wet winter and we get 150 inches of snow and we got to pay out an extra 500,000, we have the money in reserve account for it. It'd be a snow and ice reserve account. It's simple to set up, simple to deal with. Bottom line is, time material is meant to be cost effective and to pay people what they're getting, what they're doing the work for. And the electronic portion of it, to me, an Excel spreadsheet is about the simplest thing you can do.
And isn't that what we have to do with the state?
Yes. And we've offered to, and we've developed it, already handed it out. There's only one highway superintendent left. Did you get the Excel spreadsheet?
I did, yeah.
Right. So we handed it out, and I don't know what his feed, I haven't talked to, I don't want to put him on the spot. Anyways, whether he's been able to work it and if it worked, all right.
Love to talk to you.
But it's change. I think that's what the biggest fight is going to be, is change.
Trish?
Yes, I was wondering, do they fill out an Excel sheet and then just email it to you, or is there like a phone app or anything like that?
So what it is currently, it's a paper sheet that they fill out by hand, and then either some of them still hand deliver them to us. Some scan them in and send them to us email. With the Excel spreadsheet, it would be monthly, just download it to us monthly into a shared drive.
Oh, okay, all right. I didn't know if there was like a phone app where they could just plug in stuff in real time from, but it doesn't sound like it.
All right, I got a question. Are we gonna be able to work this out? I mean, I'm the type that likes to negotiate.
I hope so.
If they say they're not gonna sign it, how are we gonna work this out?
It's up to you guys.
Thanks.
Well, I can only do what I can do as far as budgeting. My job is to budget and to get the best deal we can get. And I'm willing to work with them still. We've had an open line of communication. There hasn't been any shutdown between that. Obviously, as they stated tonight, they don't want the change. But we're going back to there's no other way to establish a base rate without doing time materials. We're going to have to do time materials at some point to reestablish a base rate, because the old base rates are from 84 is the year that I've been able to track it.
We got what, 4 more months to work this out then, right?
June, right?
Yes.
Ryan, who votes on this?
Ultimately, you will vote on, the legislature votes on the contract.
Right, but as far as the folks in the room, and I believe I only saw highway representatives here. I don't believe,
There was a couple town superintendents.
I didn't hear their input though. So I'm wondering.
So
if
the
you know how-
process is
Point of order.
the highway superintendents and myself eventually have to come to some agreement, whether it's what we want or not. We have to come to an agreement. They have to take it to their respective boards, as I have to bring it to you. And then the town boards will ultimately vote on it to whether they're going to sign or not.
Jim, you had a question?
Just on, the highway superintendents are gonna have possibly some more time into filling out things and so forth. Have we considered on a time and material contract to include a percentage of that time into the rate? Option. I would work on time and material, and sometimes, of course, it's for-profit companies. There's a markup for overhead and profit, which covers supervision and paperwork and.
And there is in the formula, there is a for administrative. So if a highway superintendent figures they spent, 10 hours doing the paperwork, that'll be charged towards the contract.
I guess I'm just wondering if it's automatic, so it's gonna be figured into
Yes,
the however much an hour.
correct.
Okay.
In their operational plan. And the operational plan is gonna take a little bit the first time around to get that set up. But then after, if we do it for multiple years, it's gonna be just, if a town does a pay raise, we increase the pay rates for the gentlemen that they give us or the ladies that are on the payroll. Salt contract changes, it goes up, then that part of the operational plan goes up, and we can change them all in the workbook, in Excel spreadsheet.
And that'll be in even if it's a 3-year contract, to reestablish the base rate, that would be worked in on a year-to-year basis, that
The operational plan, correct. Every year they have to go, the same as we do with the state. We have to change our labor rates and all that with the state every year as well.
Anybody else for Ryan? Ryan, thanks for that explanation. Appreciate it. Chris,
Motion to adjourn.
second?
Second, Mark.
Okay, I think everybody's in favor, so meeting adjourned at 7:20 on the button.
Well, I want to sit down here.